Hey everybody, it's Elias Planakos from Wireless Insider, and today I have with me the Samsung Galaxy S3 and the LG Nexus 4. Two very new phones with a lot of questions people have been having about the differences between these two guys. It's kind of tricky. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to go through three different sections. We'll go over the specifications, then the hardware and the software. Some small differences here because there are things you want to keep in mind, and at the end, the things you do want to notice about these devices that may make a difference in how you use them. So if we get started first in terms of specifications, let's move these guys over to the side. Don't fall asleep. Based on the tech specs, it looks like a no-brainer that the Nexus 4 should be the better device. I'm just saying this based on the technical standpoint. I mean, we got a 4.8-inch, 4.7-inch display, all right, 1280 by 720 here, 1280 by 768 here. The pixel per inch is higher on the Nexus 4, yet users still report display is not as sexy or nice-looking as the Galaxy S3. That has to do with the Super AMOLED display and technology in the Galaxy S3, where Nexus 4 uses an HD IPS Plus display. All you have to know is colors tend to look a bit more vivid on the Galaxy S3. That is what I have noticed during the period I've had these devices, as well as other user input. Moving forward, processor very similar, 1.4 quad-core, 1.5 gigahertz quad-core processor, very similar. 1 gig of RAM, 2 gigs of RAM. All right, so it's got a little one up there. Galaxy S3 shines here in storage, 16 gigabytes of internal memory, plus you can expand it using micro SD memory card. The Nexus 4 you cannot. It only comes in 8 gigabytes and 16 gigabytes. The one you choose when you purchase that phone is the one you're stuck with forever and ever and ever. Operating system is very similar. They both run Jelly Bean, at least with the newest update here. Version 4.1.2 here and 4.2.1. Kind of weird how it mixes up there. However, Samsung uses Samsung's TouchWiz software skin on top of it, developed by Samsung, which has some good things and some bad things. Not bad, but some positive and negative points about it. We'll get to in a second. Cameras are the same at 8 megapixels and 1080p video quality at 30 frames per second, and they both have a 2100 milliamp hour battery. Great. So now that that's done, let's take a look at the hardware. Let's lock these guys. Right off the bat, they both have their lock buttons in the exact same position. Build quality, starting off, the Nexus 4 does feel more solid, strictly because it's all one piece. Much like the iPhone 4S and 5 and whatnot, there is no removable battery. Keep that in mind. That is an important thing that something that may be important for most of you out there, or maybe none of you at all. Who knows? The entire phone feels very solid because there is no dead space between the battery and the battery plate because it's all internal. It's a single piece construction. It's very nice. And it does feel very good in the hand, something that you'd want to protect, which kind of explains why bumper cases are going so expensive for this phone online right now. Galaxy S3 does have a removable plate. You pop it out by getting access to, how do I do it? Oh, at the top. All right, flexible plastic battery plate, SD card goes there, micro SD, and it connects this way. So it does feel more plasticky. The S3 does seem slimmer. It's because it is curved in the back. If you take a look at the back of the S3, yeah, right here it kind of swoops in, so it feels all right in the hand. This one feels very solid. What I do notice, though, hardware speaking, on the Galaxy S3, when I pass my phone to someone to take a look at a picture or just to take a picture, these buttons are very sensitive, I find, than the S or than the Nexus 4. These feel very solid in the Nexus 4. It doesn't seem to press them by accident. I have found that I press these buttons quite a lot by accident, or especially when I give my phone to someone else. A simple task of just rotating the device. Sometimes I press the power button, lock button, or the volume down or up button. So I've noticed that through my use. Something to keep in mind, I do find the buttons on the Nexus 4 a bit more sturdy, a bit more stiff. At the back of the phone, it's nice. The flash is on the right-hand side of the camera, which is what I prefer in the phone. That way, oh, hello, you can see me. The camera and the flash line up there correctly. The Nexus 4, it's at the bottom, so not a big difference, but when you hold the phone like this to take a picture, make sure your thumb is not black in the way, or else you will lose the flash. It won't work. Other than that, it's pretty nice to have front-facing cameras. What you do want to notice is taking a look at them, without even unlocking them, ignoring the fingerprints, which way's up? Well, here I know. Physical button, capacitive touch buttons, they light up whenever you use them. This guy, in a quick run, is this up? How do you know? Ignore this. Kind of looks the same. A lot of people get into the habit of remembering where the camera is, so they know which way is up and down, but it's easy to accidentally pull this guy out of your pocket without the screen protector on and try to hit the power button and realize you have it upside down. Good to know, that's something you should be aware of. Let's unlock these guys. Right away, what I really like, this is an option you can enable in TouchWiz. This is an enhancement, so to speak, from Samsung. You can have shortcuts of certain applications, click to drag, for example, the camera, but you still have to unlock your phone to use it. Now you can use it. On the Nexus 4, when you lock screen, you can click to unlock the phone. The option is not enabled here, but you do have the option on the Nexus 4 to click and drag to enable the camera, and then it gets you to the camera without having to unlock your device if you have a password. So you can take a picture without having to unlock your phone and simply lock the phone again, or press the power button to put it back to sleep. you can access the camera without having to unlock your phone. That is not the case with the Galaxy S3. Good to know, especially if you're a shutterbug like I am. So moving right along, you notice we just segued into the software, so let's get over there. So from the hardware, let's get to the software. Software is incredibly clean on the Nexus 4, strictly because it's just Jelly Bean. There is no skin on top of it. Very clean, very, standard Android-ish, exactly what you want, very nice, absolutely no qualms there. However, there are some things missing and some things that could be optimized. And again, this is fairly new, so as time changes, these features may change as well. On the Galaxy S3, if you take a look, you slide down with just a thumb or a finger, you have all the options that you need. You have your icons up here, you have shortcuts to certain things, and then if you want, you just press settings to get to your full settings menu. You can do it with one thumb, and you see everything there, music, whatever you want to access, as well as changing your brightness right here. It's right there. I don't have to click anything to change the brightness level, which is great. On the Nexus 4, if we take a look at this guy, if you do one swipe with your thumb, shows you your messages, all right, nothing else. You can press this button here to get the options, sorry, I just cleared everything. And there's your settings. Great. It's an extra step. You can also combat this by using two fingers spaced apart, and you do this, and it gets you straight to this menu, as opposed to this. One finger, and this is two fingers. That's all right, but most of us don't use our phone like this. We use one hand. So if you're in a rush, or if you're using it with one hand, you have to do an extra step just to get to where you want to go. And even then, the brightness settings, for example, you have to click, and then you can adjust the levels. So there's an extra step. It's not a big issue, but just a heads up, there's its relevant difference. Also, in the Nexus 4, it is stock Android, which means it does not have a notepad, for example. A Galaxy S3, because it's using some Samsung's TouchWiz running on top of it, you do have some things that come preloaded onto the device. So, for example, it has Dropbox comes preloaded, that's fine. Game Hub, but more importantly, it will be Notepad, or they call it S-Memo. I personally just downloaded my own memo utility and calendar, but the fact that it comes with these kinds of things, like this is Samsung's memo, the fact that when you buy this phone, it comes with a memo or notepad file or program is a good thing. Here you have to download it, not a big deal, good to know out of the box you can start using this guy with what comes preloaded on it. Another thing, since we're talking about applications, is when we go into the apps menu and you download applications, this is a fresh device, so I don't have anything installed. On the Galaxy S3, when you install applications, these start adding to your list after the last, default program that comes with the device. So, for example, the last of these 3 pages, all these applications came with the phone up to Chrome. Everything else after that is what I downloaded. It doesn't organize it alphabetically, which I like, because there's a lot of stuff, and I don't want to read text when I'm trying to get to an app. So I know the first 3 pages is stuff that comes with the phone. After that, it's my apps I downloaded. Nexus 4, it's alphabetically. It's organized alphabetically. So if you download, let's say, R for Reddit, it wouldn't be at the end. It would be somewhere here, wherever, alphabetically after N and before S, or after before S. So you have to remember that. You can organize them different ways, but that's one thing I did notice. Galaxy S3 did a bit better. And did you notice right away there are actual, going back to the hardware, there are physical buttons here, which I really like on the Galaxy S3. On the Nexus 4, it's nice to have virtual buttons, and the cool thing about that is if you rotate the screen, I don't think it'll do that now, but a good example is the camera. Let's go over there. And if you go to the camera, you see the controls down here. They're hidden by 3 little ghost dots. When you click them, they show up. They show up and show you what exactly they do. Let's get back to camera, and when you rotate, it automatically moves those touch buttons. Oh, well, I guess not. Perhaps in a different application. This is also a good chance to go over the camera, but you get the idea. These little buttons will rotate with the application you're running, so you always have them available. In this case, they know your thumb will be on the right, so they stay there. So it's actually doing what it's supposed to do. That's good. Let's look at the camera on both devices. They both have panoramic. The Nexus 4 has something really cool, which is supposed to emulate 3D. So you take a picture in different angles, and it can generate a 3D image. It doesn't work too well, so that's why it's not really a huge deal breaker. I have to say, I do like being able to see all my options to start off with. So the Galaxy S3 is at the bottom here. It gives me everything I need to do. All right, and I can even move these around. Click and drag, and I can move them around, which is awesome. And then when I'm done, I'm done. I have different options here: face mode, smile shot, burst shot. This guy here, you click and drag, and you can change to different options. Another thing that's different only in stock Jelly Bean. It works very well. It does take some getting used to, of course, because they're not always visible. So it's something else you may have to fumble with, when you're trying to take a picture. But in the end, quality is pretty good on these guys. And unlike the Optimus G with the Nexus 4, if you take a picture, let me turn this on, flash on. Take a picture of the Galaxy S3. You'll notice the flash comes on first, focuses, and then takes the picture. The Optimus G or some other devices will only use the flash after the phone is focused, which is very silly. because that makes no sense. You can't see the image if you do it that way. So yes, now moving on to the things you want to keep in mind. Both devices side by side, which one's better? Well, you know what? They're both awesome. This is not better than the Galaxy S3. The Galaxy S3 is not better than the Nexus 4. It doesn't work that way. What you have to think of how you wanted to work for you. And the reason I say that is because it's a significant difference being able to have expandable memory. All right. So if you want to have more than 16 gigs of worth of files, you can do that here. You cannot ever do that here. Vice versa, if you want, or also if you want to be able to change the battery pack because it doesn't last that long. Again, you can do that on the Galaxy S3. But if you think one day's use is good, and they are pretty much the same battery, this is fine. But there's no removable battery, so you don't have a backup plan. You don't have a second battery sitting in your jacket or your laptop bag or in your notebook. You just have what's in there, which is fine. Battery reports from this, from myself as well as my friend who has this phone, says they're very good. Despite what people say, LTE connectivity is. The hardware is in this phone, but it's not enabled. In Canada, it is, but not everywhere in the world, so we're not talking about that. But in the end, battery life, it does seem to pull out a bit better on the Nexus 4 than the Galaxy S3. I'm down to 74% right now. This guy would already still maintain at least 90% charge. Again, depending on your network, this varies as well as your coverage. But back to the point, non-expandable and internal memory. That may be a big deal and may be a deal breaker for some of you. It is for me. I need a backup plan with my device, therefore I cannot ever get the Nexus 4 just because it doesn't have that level of flexibility. That's not for everyone. People love this phone. It's a great device, but you want to keep in mind what your needs are. 1 day of use, no problem, and if 16 or 8 gigabytes of storage is enough, that's perfect as well. So you cannot complain in that regard. The only last thing I wanted to talk about was the speaker. It's hard to demonstrate, so I'm not going to bother playing a video because you won't hear it, but I did find the speaker being here on the Nexus 4 and the speaker being here on the Galaxy S3. I did find the speaker better on the Galaxy S3. It had a little bit more depth and it was louder. Playing the same video on my wonderful washer breaks, I'm just saying, very productive time. The audio was better on the Galaxy S3. I can hear the voices better because they were a bit deeper in tone, so I could actually hear what they're saying. Whereas on the Nexus 4, even on high volume, I could make it out, but it was not as legible or not as clear. So I'm just saying the speaker for sure I could say is better on the Galaxy S3, but again, may not be a big deal. It's still plenty loud. I'm just doing a very side-by-side comparison in the very basic level. So guys, these devices are both very badass, very capable of throwing anything you want at them. Sure, the processor's a bit faster in Nexus 4 and it's got more RAM, but in the end, they're both very powerful. And especially the one deal breaker is the cost. The Galaxy S3 is going for $600 to $650 Canadian. This guy is $300 to $350 from Google directly. So big difference in price. That's $300, $250, $300, massive difference, 40% in savings. And all you're basically not losing, but getting that's different is no expandable memory and no removable battery, which on itself sometimes makes it better. Internal memory works faster, and an internal battery means that the device can have a very solid construction and feel to it. So there is no negative or positive points that can really sway you in one decision or another. They're both very capable phones. You just have to keep in mind what I said today and how it plays with your normal work or play life. Make sure you have a good balance between the two. Again, this is your last plan Nexus from Wireless Insider. If you have any questions or comments, leave it in the section below. And if you have any recommendations of any other questions or anything like that about these guys, go ahead and send me a PM or just message down and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time, thanks a lot and take care.